All right, across the rest of the character, we have to remove the faceting, which I've talked about before. So I want nice, smooth surfaces. Let's turn off our polygroups here. Now, that's not to say you want to over smooth. In other words, you don't want to lose what's important to your silhouette. Like, I don't want to move too far away from that. The reason being is that we'll get misprojections and we'll end up with more areas that we'll have to reproject. But I'm just smoothing enough to take down the faceting so that Z Remesher has a little bit of an easier time retopologizing this area, because it's not just about what's your poly count or that sort of thing. It also plays into what does your surface look like, right? Is your surface the more complex your surface is, the longer it takes to Z Remesh, and the likelihood that you'll get a poor result. In other words, you'll get you'll get kites or L junctions or T junctions where you don't want them. You'll get weird twists and turns or holes in your mesh. And that's all stuff we want to avoid. It looks like we have a hole in the mesh right there. I'm going to close that up right now. So let's do close holes. Is that a hole in the mesh? What is that? It looks like a hole in the mesh. Unless it's just a weird glitchy face. We'll do a remesh after this and see if it automatically fixes that. But I can't Z Remesh as long as there's a hole in the mesh like that, because Z Remesher will pick up on that and that will cause a major issue. All right, something I've already lost in Dynameshing that I'll have to manually put back in is the fact that I've lost those little holes in these little tentacle respiratory doodads. That's the technical term. That's a little bit of an issue right there. So let's take care of that. Looks like we have a little weld there too, but I think that little weld will be resolved in the Z Remesh. So right now you're going, well, geez, this is a lot of cleanup. This is a lot of preparation for just to Z Remesh and to project. Well, it's a trade-off, right? What takes longer? Does it take longer to go in with the quad draw or with any other tool inside of Maya to do this whole thing? Or is the prep work worth the time? I've found that the prep work takes less time. Make that a poly group. Bring everything back. There's our little connector piece. That's fine. Let's get rid of this excess. Sometimes I get those, sometimes it's just the angle. Yeah, I mean, they show up and you can easily make them disappear. All right, so that should be a separate polygroup now. Just maybe so. Polygroup did not hold. Either that or we just got one side of it. All right, one more time. And let's just use masking for this. This selection isn't really cutting it. But we can't really move forward with it. Control W. Let's click on that. There we go. Control Shift X to grow that. So that's the chunk we're removing. Let's invert it. Delete it. And let's try remeshing. Let's go 140 and see if that helps us. All right, cool. You know, even though, I don't know, I'm noodling on this one spot, and I'm thinking, okay, I could always duplicate that in the end, but I just want everything to line up sculpturally. I could save out sculpting these until after I completely retopologize, and that means I could just do one leg and then weld it inside of Maya all the way around and just not project that area. All right, let's take a look. So we're looking for any faceting that might be left over. Didn't really hit this area. Now, I'm keeping in mind this entire time of what my highest subdivision was, because I don't want to go lower than that, right? So before I Z Remesh, I know that I had 4 subdivisions. My highest subdivision was 2 million. So let's do a little bit of math. So 2 million divided by 4. That's going to be 500,000. 500,000 divided by 4 is going to be 125,000. 125,000 divided by 4 is going to be 30-something thousand. 30,000 divided by 4. All right, so I want to hit somewhere. I think if I hit somewhere in the 10,000 poly range, I'm going to be good. That's what I'm shooting for. Somewhere around 10,000 polys, something nice and low for this big creature. I had said that I needed to sculpt in these holes so it's reflected in the Z Remesh mesh. So let's do that. And I really just want to make sure that these big ones are taken care of. The little ones can just be expressed in a normal map, but I want this stuff expressed in the geometry so I can animate it, or potentially have it animated. Let's check across the rest of the head. We've lost our slug eyes. So let's pull these back out. Snake hook. some little ones right here. If not, I do now. All right, so now let's see what we get out of Z Remesher right out of the gate. So I'm going to turn off Dynamesh. Our hole is probably gone up here. Yeah, I don't see our hole there anymore. And let's see, Z Remesher. And I'm going to leave it at, let's go with a value of 4 with adaptive on, using no polypaint density. So this is our first run at this. And this is going to take a minute. So I want questions from you guys, right? So I need to hear concerns about your own characters. Like Marcos, you have those beautiful and complex wings, right? When you go through dynameshing those, you're going to hit some major issues. So what's your workaround? What's your strategy? Simon, what's your strategy? Christian, what's your strategy? Ash, how's your progress coming along? So think about that and then hit me up with it. Actually, the Z Remesh actually went pretty fast, 30 seconds. That's not too bad. And let's see what we got. We're at 19,000 polys. Completely lost the eyes here. Looks like we ended up with a hole in the head. That's most definitely a hole. Let's see any other trouble areas. Now, this isn't a failed Z Remesh. This is expected. Well, Simon, that's good. I mean, you just say your system as they happen, but you're going to have to try. I mean, sure, experiment and then repeat, but try and have some forethought going in, right? Try and identify those areas that are going to cause you problems and try and think of a strategy beforehand. It'll help you when you do hit those issues. You already have one solution in place. So I'm going to have to Z Remesh this again. Let me step back. This time I'm going to employ my polypaint. Let's see. All right, I'll get your questions while after I start Z Remeshing. So